É um preparatório para undergrad, um preparatório para graduação também. A gente vai mandar o link de tudo isso aqui no chat no momento. Nessa primeira palestra, a gente não vai ter perguntas, a gente vai ter as 6 universidades falando, então a gente não vai ter um espaço para perguntas nesse primeiro painel, mas nos próximos painéis todos, as perguntas serão colocadas aqui no chat e a gente vai votar no grupo do WhatsApp quais são as perguntas que vão ser respondidas pelas universidades. Então, fiquem à vontade para mandar as dúvidas aqui no chat. Eu vou transpor essas dúvidas para o WhatsApp e a gente vai votar lá quais são as que mais interessam a vocês que eles respondam. So yeah, good evening, everyone. Good evening for the ones that are in the UK right now. Good afternoon for everyone here in Brazil or in other countries that are in afternoon right now. It's really great to have you all here. It's an honor for Fundação Estudar to have like UCL, Manchester, Imperial, LSC, Cambridge, and St. Andrews with us. What an amazing event we can do today. I'm going to give Nathan the floor and we are going to start this. So welcome everyone and hopefully you will all enjoy your afternoon today.
Thank you, Beatrice. That's a really kind welcome. And hola and benvindo to you all. Thank you so much for being here today. And we wanted to start by saying welcome to the United Kingdom. We are so excited to be here today for this, what is the very first study in the UK day. And we're really excited that you have chosen to be here, whether you are watching this live or watching the recording. This is hopefully going to be a really fantastic afternoon that's going to be really useful. And to get things started, I actually wanted to share a fact, which is every single year, there are over 100,000 Brazilian students who go abroad to study in another country. And so when we think about what that means, with over 100,000 students every single year, studying abroad is more possible than ever before. There are more courses, there are more universities, more study options, more scholarships to empower the most able and most internationally minded students, no matter where you're calling in from today in Brazil. But I think also, you know, as fantastic as it is that so many students and so many opportunities exist, it means there's also more information than there ever has been before. And that can be pretty overwhelming, trying to figure out what you need to know, where you need to go to get information. And also you're bound to be left with lots of questions as well when you are doing your research. And really, you know, this is what today is all about. We are here today to give you all the information you need and hopefully answer any questions you have about what it would be like to come and study in the UK. So over the course of our events this afternoon, you're going to have the chance to hear from 6 of the very best, most prestigious universities in the UK, as well as scholarship organisations and other guests, to help you figure out, you know, how to make the right choice for you and hopefully answer all of the questions you might have. So in terms of how today is going to work, we've broken down the afternoon into 4 main events. And the first event, today's opening session, is going to provide a little bit of an introduction into how the UK works. So how does our education system work? What can you expect from the culture, the language, the careers? And I think most importantly, you'll also have the chance to hear from Maulu, who is a recent graduate here actually from the London School of Economics, who was exactly where you are now. Maulu came to us from Brazil to come and study at LSE. She survived. She's enjoyed it, and she's going to talk a little bit about her experience in just a few minutes. Then after that, we're going to move on to all things careers, visas, and work. So you're going to get a chance to hear about how studying in the UK can enhance your CV, can enhance your career prospects whether you decide to stay in the UK after you graduate, whether you decide to return to Brazil after you graduate, or whether you go somewhere else. We'll talk a little bit about how studying in the UK can change your future when it comes to careers and also enterprise. After that, really importantly, we'll talk about fees, financing, and scholarships, which, as we've already mentioned, that, studying abroad is more possible today than ever before. There are costs involved, of course, and what we wanted to do is provide time to talk about what those costs might look like, but also really importantly, introduce you to some of the main scholarships available to Brazilian students to come and study in the UK. And in particular, there'll be a fantastic opportunity to hear from Chevening, which really is one of the world's leaders when it comes to providing scholarships to come and study in the UK as a postgraduate student. Finally, we're going to talk a little bit about the difficult side of all of this, which is getting in to the university you want to study in. All of the universities you're going to hear from today are very competitive. They receive many, many applications. And so what we wanted to do was end on talking a little bit about how the application system works, what you'll need, and crucially giving you all the information you need to make the best application possible so you can come and join us in the UK. Now, a quick note to say that if you are watching this currently on YouTube, this first hour is going to be streamed live, so it's fantastic to have you here. But then the 3 sessions after this are exclusively going to be available on Zoom. So if you haven't registered yet, what are you doing? Scan the QR code on screen, copy the link into your browser, fill out a bit of information about who you are, and you'll immediately be sent a link to join the remainder of today's sessions. This should also give you access to the recordings of these sessions once they're finished. So if this turns out to be the best day of your life, you have more fun in the next 4 hours than you've ever had, you will be able to relive this as many times as you like in the days to come. Now, with that, we've got a lot of ground to cover. So I'm going to introduce us to our first speaker of the day. So I'm going to hand over to Thomas from the University of St Andrews, who's going to provide a little bit of an introduction to what higher education in the UK looks like. So Thomas, over to you.
Hi, Nathan. Sorry, as usual, a little bit of technical trouble with the mute button. Good afternoon, everybody. It's lovely to be in touch with you all, and thank you very much for attending the session. So, as Nathan mentioned, I'm going to start things off by giving you a little bit of an overview of what to expect in terms of higher education in the UK and a high-level couple of points about other things to consider before we go on to talk more specifically about the individual institutions that each of us is representing today. If I can just advance my slides. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is just how special it is to come and study overseas. Studying anywhere outside of your own country is a very, very special thing, but I think it's fair to say that studying in the UK is still unique, and there's a reason it's so popular with international students around the world. Students are choosing in very high numbers to leave home, to come here to study, to work here after they finish. And I want to tell you a few of the things that are reasons why that is so common and why you might decide to join the groups of students that are making those journeys. Okay, so first of all, most importantly, the reason you're thinking of coming to study outside of your own country and thinking about coming to study in the UK is clearly because of the education that's available. That is the #1 reason why you're thinking of making this transition. So why would you think about the UK? Well, the UK has a well-established reputation for world-leading research and study opportunities. And when you study here, you're not just learning from textbooks. The fact is that you're engaging with thought leaders and their cutting-edge research. So you're mixing with people who are at the very forefront of their subjects and who have an enthusiasm and a knowledge for the work that they undertake on a day-to-day basis. The universities that you're going to hear from today are known not just in the UK, but all around the world for the quality of their teaching across disciplines. So whether it's the sciences, whether it's humanities, arts, or technology, you're going to find when you look within our institutions that there are courses available that cater to your specific interests and aspirations. Some of that might take a little bit of digging, but we're all different. We don't just offer exactly the same courses in different destinations or different places. We have unique opportunities, and we would encourage you to delve into the institutions to find out the niche and really interesting and exciting opportunities that exist in these different places. Our approach to education is to emphasize your views and interests. You'll be conducting your own research and shaping your own opinions, and we hope bringing your own perspectives to bear in global conversations with real impact. UK universities encourage you to think for yourself, to question your assumptions, and engage in debates. And because the education system in the UK is so specialised, it often means our degree takes less time than elsewhere, so you'll graduate from your degree quicker than if you were studying in many other countries. I would also add that there is an opportunity to really shape what you're studying. There are no required subjects in our degrees, unlike some other systems that you might have heard of. So I'm thinking expressly here about the United States and Canada, where a lot of Brazilian students start being interested in, but then realise that there are core or general ed classes if you're an undergraduate, or perhaps fewer opportunities to specialise the way that you can in the UK. So there are particular reasons why our popular system is so popular and why we're a little bit different from the way that things are done in North America, in a good way, we think. Second of all, apart from education, we want you to think carefully about culture. The UK is home to a very vibrant mix of cultures, languages, and traditions. And as an international student, you will have the chance to meet and mix with people from all walks of life, fostering friendships that span the globe. Students who study here come together from around the world to study in the melting pot that gave the world such delights as Shakespeare, competitive football, Harry Potter, and Harry Styles. Other Harrys are available. There's so much to see while you're here, though, from the historic streets of London to the ancient university towns, from the wilds of the Scottish Highlands, very close to where I am based in St Andrews, to some of the most famous and recognisable cultural landmarks in the world. If you want to, and if you enjoy these cultural experiences, if you want more of this, then it's worth remembering that you can easily hop on a flight or a train to explore Europe, which is very close at hand. For example, to give you just 3 countries, France, Italy, and Spain are just 2 to 3 hours away from wherever you are in the United Kingdom. Finally, apart from the education and the culture available, we also want you to think about the long-term prospects for your careers. Studying at a university in the UK not only equips you with a high-quality education, but also significantly enhances your employability, whether you stay in the UK or decide to go home, or go somewhere else, which of course is entirely possible. The statistics do speak for themselves. The overwhelming majority of our graduates find employment within 6 months of completing their degrees. Many go on to work for prestigious companies or pursue advanced studies in top programs worldwide, or show an entrepreneurial streak and go on to launch their own business. If you like living in the UK, the good news is you don't have to leave after you graduate. The graduate route visa scheme within the UK allows you to stay on for at least 2 years after you graduate. And it's worth emphasising that this works completely differently to how post-study works in some other countries. For example, in the United States, their rules seem to allow you to stay for a long time, but essentially require you to find employment within 50 days, or you will have to leave the country. In the UK, you have at least 2 years to search for work and to spend time in our country, and at that point, you can decide what to do next. It's not tied to employment. It's for you to gain experience, explore opportunities, and start building your professional network. And of course, these are things that you do during your degree, as well as immediately after and in the time beyond. It never stops being a time to network, to build your connections, and to look for your next opportunity. Now, with that introduction over, I'm going to pass you on to Roshan from Cambridge, who's going to take you through the next section of the talk.
Thank you very much, Thomas. So before we introduce the universities today, we would like to introduce the levels of study and get used to some of the terminology. Of course, there are some similarities between the system in the UK and the system in Brazil, but there are some differences to be aware of as well. So it's a good opportunity for us to have a look at the different levels of study, the different ways in which you could spend some time with us in the UK. And the first of these is where higher education starts, and that's at bachelor level. So bachelor level programs are typically 3 or 4 years. It can depend where in the UK you are and indeed which type of program you're studying. Some programs such as medicine may even be a little bit longer, up to 6 years, for example. But higher education starts at this bachelor level. The exact qualification that you would receive when you finish your studies will vary slightly according to the subject as well. So if you're studying in the arts or the sciences, your degree may vary. And then there's even some more specialist options. A Bachelor of Law, for example, would be awarded as an LLB, or a medical program as an MBBS typically. So this is something to look out for. Either way, they're all at the same level. They're all that first step on the higher education journey, as I say, for 3 or for 4 years. Students may then progress on to master's level qualifications. And masters are often taught, although they can be wholly research based, and are typically a 1-year program. Again, the exact qualification will vary slightly depending on the subject that the degree is offered. If it's in the arts or the sciences, if it's a research-based program, it may be an MRes, for example. And in some cases, a master's program can be a part of, embedded within your bachelor degree as an integrated master's. But for most students, it would be a separate, a standalone, a 1-year program of study at master's level, which is something that you can use to advance your career, or perhaps as a route into doctoral level study. And that's the third type of program that we offer, again, as another option within postgraduate study. A PhD program, a doctoral program, takes between 3 and 4 years usually of independent research. A PhD is about contributing original knowledge in your discipline. It's about working independently across a wide range of disciplines, but to advance the academic knowledge, to advance the research, and at the end of your doctoral program, at the end of your PhD, to put forward your research in a thesis format of around 80,000 words or so. Many PhD graduates will then embark in a career in universities, working in academia, or going into industry and into the workplace, taking those research skills, taking that knowledge to make an advancement in their career in public or private sector opportunities. So that's the 3 levels of study in the UK: the bachelor level, the master's level, and then the doctoral level at the end of it. So I'm going to pass now to Catherine from Imperial College London to introduce more about the universities represented today.
Thank you. So sadly, I'm not Catherine, but I am going to be tackling this. You'll have the chance to hear from Catherine shortly. But at this point, what we wanted to do is introduce the 6 universities. You've already heard from 3 of us, but we're now going to introduce those 6 universities. And we just wanted to start by showing you basically where we are. The UK is an incredibly diverse country. We've actually over 100 universities in total. So the 6 you're going to hear from today represent very different parts of UK culture. So let's take a look to see where we are all calling in from. So we're going to start up in Scotland at the top of our map. And our first university is the University of St Andrews. Now, the University of St Andrews is the oldest university in Scotland. And as you might have already, or Thomas has already hinted at, has some pretty outstanding natural beauty, both from the North Sea and from the Scottish Highlands. Then moving across the border to the north of England to my hometown, the University of Manchester. And of course, it's not only my hometown, but it's also home to 2 of the best loved or most hated, depending on who you ask, football teams in the world. Moving down to the south of England, we have the University of Cambridge, of course, a household name when it comes to quality education. And very recently, it just reached its 800th birthday. So one of those ancient institutions we talk about in the UK. Then going a little bit further south, we get to London, of course, the capital of the UK and home to 3 of the universities on the call today. So first of all, in leafy Bloomsbury up in North London, kind of close to the British Museum and some major transport links, you have University College London, UCL, which is the UK's largest higher education institution. You then move a little bit closer, further south, closer to the Thames, and you have LSE, the London School of Economics and Political Science, the university I'm, of course, calling in from today, based right in the centre of London's legal district. Last but not least, over in West London, not far from Hyde Park and right next door to the Royal Albert Hall and some of London's best museums, you have Imperial College London. So what we're going to do at this point is we're going to give you a chance to hear from each of these 6 universities, so you have a moment to learn a little bit about what makes them unique, what they might be able to offer you. And we are going to start today with the University of Manchester. So over to you, Chris.
Lovely. Thanks so much, Nathan. Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. As Nathan said, I'm Chris from the University of Manchester, also originally from the city of Manchester, like my colleague. So if we could go to the next slide, I've got a couple of things to tell you about my university very, very quickly. So the University of Manchester is not quite as old as some of the others on the call today. It was our 200th birthday this year, our bicentenary. So we're a Victorian university formed in that kind of industrial period that Manchester is famous for. We're a big university, a large university. We've got more than 40,000 students. And by some measures, apparently we have the largest single-site campus outside of London in the UK. I think it's disputed, but it shows you just how big the University of Manchester actually is. Now, like all of the other universities on the call, Manchester is, top ranking, very reputable. So I wanted to focus on some of the things that make us unique. One of those is our commitment to social responsibility. So the university has a declared commitment to responsibility. It's one of our core aims to kind of give back to the Manchester community and the UK community and the world, really, through our research and the courses that we offer. So at the moment, we're kind of highly ranked in Europe for social and environmental impact, and that has a lot to do with the research that's going on at Manchester. We're offering courses like pollution and environmental control. There's research in the use of the new relatively new supermaterial graphene happening in Manchester. So that it all goes into that social responsibility kind of commitment. The second thing that I want to pull out is our long history of innovation and world first. So Manchester has always been a kind of crucible for innovation and for radicalism and new ideas. It's the home of, simultaneously, the home of capitalism in the form of industrialization. It's also the home of Marxism, famously, where Frederick Engels lived during the Industrial Revolution. And the university itself has lots of innovations and world firsts in its history. So just to pull a couple out, Ernest Rutherford, during his time at the university, did the world's first controlled nuclear reaction, right? The world's first stored program computer was invented at the University of Manchester, but it's not just the sciences. On the humanities side, we had the UK's first ever Black professor. That was Arthur Lewis. He was an eminent professor of economics, also a Nobel Prize winner, I believe. So the city of Manchester, aside from the football teams, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, was the world's first industrialized city. By many measures, it's the most most livable city in the UK. It's a good combination of kind of affordability and a big city experience, with a fantastic creative and art scene as well. So if you're interested in music and you've heard of artists like Oasis and the Smiths and the Stone Roses and Morrissey and Joy Division, right? Manchester's creative scene has produced all of those artists. And the University of Manchester is right there in the heart of the action, located just 15 minutes walk from the very centre of the city, and it is really within the kind of city bounds, everything within walking distance in Manchester. So there you go. That's my very, very quick introduction to my university, and you'll see more of me in the next session. But before we get there, I'm just going to hand over to my next colleague, who is from UCL, to introduce their universities. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks so much, Chris. Boa tarde a todos. Thank you so much for joining us today. You might recognise my accent as not being from London either. I'm from the east of Manchester, which is a couple of hours, city of Sheffield originally. But now I'm very proud to work at University College London. So just skipping back to the first image, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what you're seeing in terms of the images. So one on the left-hand side, thanks, is our kind of iconic building. It's called the Wilkins Building. And for those who know London, I've travelled to the Trafalgar Square National Gallery. That's the same architect, William Wilkins. And then the image on the right-hand side is at our new East Campus in East London, next to West Ham football ground as well for football fans. And then just to give you a really quick snapshot of UCL and some of our kind of distinguishing features and what identifies, you know, our identity. We're not quite as old as Cambridge, but we're heading for our bicentenary in 2026. So we were founded in 1826. Our founders were influenced by a famous, renowned philosopher called Jeremy Bentham, so he might become familiar to you, and it was thanks to his ethos that UCL was the first university in England to welcome women and students from any religion or social background. So it was this freedom and courage to challenge, really, that's one of the things that defines UCL. Something else is the range of our kind of interdisciplinary programmes and subject areas, as well as our staff and student population. So we offer, you know, a wide range of programmes over 11 faculties, and in some cases you can combine arts and technology and science, for example. So we have architecture students working alongside entrepreneurs and engineers as well. And some of our subject strengths are architecture and geography, education. So we do have many different strengths in different faculties as well. In terms of our research, we have geographers working alongside political scientists to explore climate crisis. We work across disciplines to improve mental health outcomes through our partnerships across healthcare and industry. And among some of our alumni and researchers, you know, we've had discoveries in medicine and chemistry and black holes. So we have renowned alumni as well working in the arts and Formula One and film directing. And so I would really encourage you to check media channels, news. UCL features every week in those. I'm sure you'll come across something that inspires you. You'll come across research that we're carrying out, different discoveries. So I would encourage you to keep abreast of those. And most importantly, all this research is made possible by our student and staff population. It's very diverse. So of our 50,000 students, 50% are international. We welcome an average of around 60 Brazilian students every year, and we are carrying out research. We have research collaborations in Brazil, in respiratory medicine, from our development and planning unit, from our Bartlett. So lots of different subjects that Brazilians choose to study at UCL as well. Then our main campus, as Nathan mentioned, is quite leafy. It's called Bloomsbury, and the Knowledge Quarter is renowned for being a academic community, so you can be a member of that. So there are at least 90 research cultural institutions in Bloomsbury that you can be part of. And then I mentioned our East Campus before, so this is quite a new campus, and it's in the heart of Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park. Students have access to the pool there, and the facilities are amazing, and you really see the interdisciplinary approach in practice there. So you know, students from different faculties are sharing the labs and workshops, so very happy to share more after today. Thanks for listening, and I think I'm passing over to one of my colleagues next from St Andrews.
Thanks very much, Emma. So, hi again, Thomas from St Andrews, a slightly different accent for you as we move into Scotland, away from my English colleagues. Unique things about St Andrews, just to delve straight in. First of all, we are the only university taking part today, and indeed probably one of the only universities in the UK, where, if I can just go back one slide, please. The photo that you could see on the left showing the town of St Andrews is really unusual. It's a very unusual setting for the university, given that there are only about 22,000 people living here, and almost half of the people in the town are students. So whereas all the other universities I think that are taking part today are really, you know, in a city type environment, and many of you in the audience today are from cities, St Andrews is very, very small. Scotland as a country is quite small. There are actually fewer people in the whole of Scotland than there are in the whole of London. So this smallness continues in my town. The university is very old. It was founded in the 15th century, but we've not grown very much. We currently have about 10,000 students, and the population is about 8,000 undergraduates and about 2,000 postgraduates. But again, focusing in on this photo, imagine a place where, despite moving halfway across the world, after you have been here for about 1 month, every time you'd be out in public, you would expect to bump into somebody that you knew from your programme or from your housing facilities or from the sports that you play or from the degree that you're taking. And St Andrews is really very easy to kind of navigate and settle into. It's very friendly. It's incredible for networking. But I would just give you the really important news that if you're wanting to live in a city, St Andrews is not going to work. St Andrews is more like living in a village or a town compared to living in one of the big cities around the rest of the UK, or maybe the kind of experience that you're used to in Brazil at the moment. Now, if I can just go forward one slide again. I don't know if I've got control, guys. Okay, so as I mentioned, we have this unusual size. There you can see the numbers on screen. It's a town of 22,000 people, and we are what you might call a mid-sized university of about 10,000 students right now. Another thing which is worth remembering, if any of you are in the audience thinking about an undergraduate degree or a first degree, the degree in Scotland or the degree in St Andrews, where I am from, is 4 years long, and that's a different length from the 3-year degree that's taught in the rest of the UK. So in England, in Wales or Northern Ireland, any of these, the other universities today are a 3-year degree, but the undergraduate degree in Scotland is 4 years because you start your degree with multiple subjects, and it's only at the end of your second year that you decide which one of those or a combination of them you wish to carry on with and graduate in. Now, at graduate level, our programmes are similar to the rest of the UK. We offer 1-year masters, we offer 4-year PhD, and the great thing about St Andrews is we have an incredible group of academics. About 95% of the academic staff that we have don't just teach, but also research. And if you come in to study with them and with us, you're actually working directly with these incredible people. Now, all of this, the length of time that we've been offering degrees, our strong reputation in terms of the rankings, and our fame around the world means that we do attract students from approximately 142 nationalities, which is really visible given how small the town is. And I'm delighted to be able to tell you that our retention rate of undergraduates from first year to second year is 99%, which goes to demonstrate just how easy it is to settle in, how we support you so well. And first year in any university is probably the most high risk year, but it's definitely strong evidence of how well you can expect to do in St Andrews that we do have that high retention. Finally, we're a very social university and we encourage our students to be incredibly active. So we have 55 sports. The most famous ones, of course, are golf and football. There are two kind of national pastimes in Scotland. On top of the sports, we have about 165 student societies and clubs for you to get involved with. So another great way of being athletic, meeting people and settling into life and maximising your time and connection with other students in Scotland. So if you have any questions, I look forward to answering them later, and I'll pass on now to colleagues from LSE. Thanks, Nathan.
Thank you so much, Thomas. So from sort of relatively small coastal settings down to London. So now we'll spend just a minute introducing the London School of Economics and Political Science. And I think the first thing to say about LSE is that we are a slightly different institution to what you might find, at other UK universities. And the reason being is that LSE is an incredibly specialised university. So to talk a little bit about what that means, I hope you won't fall asleep if I give you a very quick history lesson, which is, so LSE was founded about 120 years ago, right in the turn of the 19th into the 20th century. And the people who created LSE, they looked at what was going on in society at the time. And you might start thinking to yourself, what kind of things were happening in 1900? And, it's a time of massive change in the way the world works. The way our societies operate is changing. So to give you some examples, right, this is around about the time we start talking about the rights of women. It's around about the start of the time when we start talking about the relationship between colonizer and colonized countries. We start asking questions about our technology and what that means for our lives and the legal systems, right, that underpin our societies. And the people who founded LSE, they set out to understand how society works, how all of that change worked and operated, and why it worked for some people and not for others, and to use that knowledge for the betterment of society, right? And taking that forward to today, what that means is LSE is a specialised institution. It's the only university in the UK and one of very few in the world that is dedicated exclusively to the social sciences. So that means, sadly, if you're on the call today interested in medicine or engineering or physics, we are not right for you, I'm afraid. But if you're sat there and you're someone who is interested in how our society works, whether that is politically, economically, legally, sociologically, right? LSE is a dedicated institution for those subjects. One other thing that I think makes LSE quite unique is our size. So by London standards, LSE is a very small university. We only have 12,000 students. And actually, for the benefit of today's call, I think it's important to mention that the majority of LSE's students are postgraduates. So a few minutes ago, when we talked about master's degrees and PhD programs, most students at LSE are master's and PhD students. They're a little bit further along in their academic journey, and LSE is a very popular choice when it comes to postgraduate study. But what I think is also important to reflect upon is where those students come from. So when you look at our student body, around about 70% of all of our students come from outside the UK, which means there are more students like you on the call today, i.e. being from outside the UK, than there are like me being from Manchester, which is pretty amazing in terms of the people you meet and the languages you hear and the opinions and what have you. And what I think is really interesting is that although we are very small and we are very selective and specialised, we really punch above our weight in terms of producing world leaders, particularly in the political field. So to give you a few examples, Juan Manuel Santos of Colombia, who recently won the Nobel Peace Prize for kind of bringing an end to the conflict in Colombia. People like Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the EU Commission, current people like the president of Taiwan, as of a few weeks ago, the Prime Minister of Finland, the current Prime Minister of Barbados, even John F. Kennedy, registered as an LSE student. And so hopefully you take my point that LSE is a very specialised university, but it is also incredibly international. And people like you, people who are on this call, who are sat in Brazil right now, really do come to LSE to study how our society works, and quite often take that knowledge back with them into their lives, their careers, and their communities. And if I can finally give one quick plug, I did want to mention that we will be visiting Brazil next month. We are going to be in Rio de Janeiro for the G20 summit, which we're really excited about. And we are actually going to be hosting a special event in G20 just for students. So if you're on the call today and you're in Rio, head on the LSE website, have a look at the event we have coming up, because we would love to see you there and give you a little bit of an insight of what it's like to be an LSE student. Now, with that, I will shut up because I could talk about LSE all day long, and I'm going to hand over to my good colleagues at the University of Cambridge.
Thank you very much, Nathan. Yes, a warm welcome from Cambridge. Cambridge, as you heard already, has a long history, 815 years of world-leading teaching and research. And like many of the universities joining today, we believe the two are interlinked. And when you join a university like Cambridge, you are truly part of a scholarly community, working with people from a wide range of disciplines to share ideas, to advance your knowledge, to contribute ideas to some of the big global challenges that face us. And Cambridge is a university that covers a wide range of subject areas, both at undergraduate, so the bachelor level, and at postgraduate level. We offer programs in the arts and humanities, the social sciences, a wide range of science programs, and clinical subjects such as medicine and veterinary medicine as well. So quite a comprehensive university of about 24,000 students, of which around 40% come from outside of the UK. Cambridge is what is known as a collegiate university. So a collegiate university is one where students are a member of an academic department. Their department is where they are based for their teaching and their research, where their academic experience focuses, for example, the Department of Engineering or the Department of Music. But they will then also be a member of a college. And you can see some pictures on the screen here of two of the colleges. On the left is Queen's College, and on the right is King's College. These colleges are a student's home from home whilst they're in the UK, providing accommodation, dining and sports facilities, as well as that welfare and tutorial support to help you. At undergraduate level, we are a fully residential university, and at postgraduate level, most of our students will live in college managed accommodation, most of our international students. Being a member of a college, you're part of this smaller community of maybe between 500 and 800 students, but you're also part of this much bigger university, so you really have the best of both worlds. The university, as I say, has a wide range of subjects. We cover about 150 academic departments. Cambridge is quite a small city, about 150,000 people, so a little bit bigger than St Andrews, but a bit smaller than the other cities represented here today. So it really does give you that opportunity to be part of what you could describe as a college town, a university town with two universities. About a third of the population are students, but you then have easy access to London in just 1 hour on the train to have that bigger city experience as well. As I say, Cambridge is a very academic-led institution, and the admissions decisions are made by the colleges at undergraduate level and by the academic department. So when we get into some of the detail in some of the later sessions, it's worth knowing that things can vary slightly from course to course, from department to department, in terms of some of the processes and some of the deadlines. And just to mention, again, like other institutions on the call today, our alumni go on to do incredible things. We have about 315,000 living alumni who are based globally, who are working in such a wide range of careers and contributing in so many ways. And I also wanted to use an example from the recent Nobel Prizes. The Nobel Prize for Chemistry this year was awarded to two Cambridge graduates who used AI to develop an approach to solving a complex problem involving protein analysis, which various different researchers had been working on for about 50 years, and they finally managed to bring AI in and bring a new approach to solve that problem, and were awarded the prize this year. Cambridge graduates, Cambridge students are part of this family forever. You are, as a Cambridge graduate, able to access career support for the rest of your careers. You can come back 5, 10, 20 years after you graduate to access that support and to continue to be a member of this really special community. So I'll leave it there in terms of introductions, and we will head back down to London now and to Imperial College and to Catherine.
So much, Roshan. So hi, everyone. So yes, Imperial. So this picture here, the aerial shot is of South Kensington that was mentioned earlier. That is home to our original campus. We do now have some fantastic new campuses in White City. Is a fantastic new biomedical engineering lab, research for public health, for example. But South Kensington is our kind of traditional home. This area was actually developed at the end of the 19th century after the Great Exhibition of 1851, which was the idea of Prince Albert, Queen Victoria's husband, to showcase how he thought really developments in science and technology would be key to building a better future. That is part of who we are. That's part of our heritage. The Imperial Institute came out of that. And eventually we founded as a university in 1907, so we're a bit younger than some of the universities on the call today. But we were founded with a mission to be useful. So that's very much, as I said, our heritage. But it is also who we are in the sense that we are quite a unique university, solely focusing on science, engineering, medicine and business. So again, it's that idea of these subject areas can really make a difference and improve people's lives. In fact, our strategy that was launched in March this year is under the title Science for Humanity, as we really believe the teaching, the research that is going on at Imperial can really make a difference. We have a very wide range of subjects within these areas. So we have 10 different engineering departments, for example, and we know that our students are incredibly bright and really have fantastic ideas and want to use the knowledge they gain at Imperial to make a difference to the world around them. So we've opened up a number of spaces on campus that I'd like to highlight that really enable students to do this. We have, for example, our Advanced Hackspace network, whereby all students, no matter which department you are in, even if you're studying a theoretical program like mathematics, you can go along and access prototyping equipment. So the idea is if you have a fantastic idea, you could actually go along, use 3D printers, laser cutters, woodwork, metalwork machines, and make your idea into a product. If you've created this product, maybe it will make a difference. Maybe it can improve people's lives. How can you get it out there to the wider world? Well, now all of our students have access to something called our Enterprise Lab, which is an entrepreneurship support system for all students. Again, no matter which department you are in, for absolutely free. We are finding more students are taking advantage of this, so taking part in mentorship schemes, pitching competitions, skills workshops to see if their idea could become a viable business and make that difference. In just one academic cycle, the Enterprise Lab supported 341 student startup companies and raised over £88 million of investment for this area. Some recent graduates I'll leave as an example went down this route. So some of our graduates started a company called Nopla, which has actually looked at replacing single-use plastics with seaweed-based materials. They actually won the 2022 Earthshot Prize, the global competition that looks to give a £1 million shot of money into companies that are tackling climate change. Since they won that in 2022, they've gone on to raise a further £20 million of investment since then. And they now have contracts with kind of takeaway companies in Europe. So when you're getting your takeaways at the weekend, you're not building up all those single-use plastics. So that's just one example of the kind of ways that our students are really using that kind of specialist STEM knowledge to really try and make a difference and improve the world around them. With that, I believe I'm passing back to Nathan. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you to all of our universities for that great introduction. Again, some really outstanding universities, and hopefully you're already getting a feel for what makes each university unique. Now, in the last 10 minutes we have before the end of the session, you've had a chance to hear from us, but going back to where we started, so every year, over 100,000 Brazilians choose to study abroad, to go abroad for a bachelor's degree or a master's or a PhD. And what we wanted to do is give you the chance to hear from just one of them. So I'm really pleased to say that we have a very recent LSE graduate, Maria or Maulu, on the call with us today to talk a little bit about her experience. So we have some questions prepared that you've been kindly sharing in advance. But first of all, Maulu, hi, are you there? And could you provide a little bit of an introduction to who you are and why you're on the call today?
Should I speak in it's Portuguese? Should I speak in Portuguese?
If you want to speak in Portuguese, that's okay, but my questions will be in English. I hope that's okay.
Okay, it's fine. Fair enough. I can just translate after. Ok. Oi, gente, tudo bom? Eu sou a Malu, eu tenho 25 anos, quase 26, faço 26 dia 3 de novembro, tá chegando. Eu sou formada em Economia pela Universidade de Brasília. E eu tenho um mestrado em Ciências do Comportamento pela LSE. Caramba, são 347 participantes, é muita gente. Eu tô falando para uma galera aqui. Eu queria agradecer a presença de todo mundo aqui. Muito obrigada por estarem aqui. Eu estive no lugar que vocês estão tentando aplicar, meio assim no escuro, né? Porque a gente não tá aqui para entender a realidade do Reino Unido, a gente não tá aqui para entender como funciona o sistema de ensino deles, e a gente não sabe muito bem para onde ir. Porque o sistema é bastante diferente, de fato, né? A aplicação para o Reino Unido é uma aplicação, até diria assim, um tanto quanto esquisita para a gente, porque nós não temos o hábito de fazer cover letters. Eu, pelo menos, não tive, também não fui estimulada nem a criar um currículo quando eu era mais jovem, assim. Então, tem essa coisa da gente não saber como é que faz um documento, como é que faz uma carta, né? Essa questão do inglês gera muita insegurança também. Então, eu acho que esse painel é muito
Não dá para ouvir a voz, aumente a voz.
Eu acho que é muito interessante e é muito legal que tenha essa iniciativa, porque isso, na verdade, teria facilitado muito a minha vida quando eu estava tentando vir para cá. Então, acho muito massa que está acontecendo aqui. E, enfim, esse painel é muito valioso. Eu espero que vocês estejam anotando tudo, porque é muito importante saber a questão da universidade, né? O perfil da universidade que você quer vir. Mas eu vou deixar então o Nathan fazer as perguntas. Nathan, can we just start the questions?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for that introduction. I hope you said lots of nice things about LSE in your introduction there,
Yeah, I was
Maulu.
just
So
telling like I'm just impressed by the initiative, because if I had this when I was applying, I think I would cry. Like, it's so nice, because we don't have this amount of information when we are applying back from Brazil, and we are actually very lost when we're trying to apply. So I think this is a very good initiative from the universities.
Well, no, and well, thank you for being here and for sharing that. You'll just have to apply to do a PhD now, using the information from today. But anyway, so Malu, thank you for being here. I mentioned at the start, so before today's session, we had a few questions submitted, and I think you're the perfect person to help answer these. So maybe just with a kind of a minute or two on each question, you could share some thoughts. And the first question we had today was, how did you choose to go to the UK? So as we've been talking about, there's so many options with the US and Portugal and Europe. So what made you go to the UK? And then how did you decide, which university was right for you and which course was right for you?
Ok, então a primeira pergunta é sobre a questão do porquê o UK, né? Bom, eu quis vir para o UK porque a área que eu queria seguir era melhor desenvolvida no UK. Eu quis vir para cá para fazer esse curso de Behavioral Sciences, que é um curso que ainda é muito incipiente no Brasil. Existem alguns cursos também nos Estados Unidos, mas Londres é realmente o hub, é realmente o local onde você tem não só programas de pós-graduação, até mesmo programas de graduação nessa área, mas também aonde o mercado de trabalho é muito bem desenvolvido aqui para essa área de behavioral, que é uma área na intersecção entre a psicologia e a economia. Eu não encontrei algo assim no Brasil. A gente tem até um Masters no Brasil, mas é voltado para o marketing, não é voltado para a economia e política pública. Então, no Brasil não existia não existe, acredito eu, não existe essa expertise, não existe isso no Brasil. Então, o UK realmente tem esse diferencial de ter uma educação extremamente interdisciplinar, que fez eu escolher esse local. Nathan, so the first question was why the UK? The second
Yeah.
question was?
How did you, I get, no, no, no. How did you sort of research and like, how did you decide? For you, you came to LSE, right? But how did you research the universities and what was right for you?
Ok. Oh meu Deus, vou ficar louca, duas línguas. Então, como eu escolhi, né, a minha universidade? Sendo bem honesta com vocês, o meu sonho sempre foi LSE desde a minha graduação. Eu sempre quis vir para a LSE desde quando eu tenho 15 anos de idade, eu sempre quis estar na LSE. Então, a minha experiência é um pouco subjetiva, mas eu apliquei para outras universidades, porque vocês devem aplicar, não fiquem. Não coloquem os seus ovos apenas numa cesta, né? Aquele conselho que geralmente todo mundo dá. Então, eu apliquei para as outras universidades, e eu fiquei restrita a Londres. Na verdade, eu apliquei para algumas universidades fora, mas assim, eu acho que o que me ajudou era entender, ter essa clareza. Tipo assim, eu quero ir para Londres, então eu vou focar, nas universidades de Londres, e também a clareza a respeito do que eu quero estudar, né? Para ver realmente qual é onde você vai encontrar esse curso. Porque não são todas as universidades que vão fornecer o curso que você quer fazer. Então, acho que são duas clarezas: o local que você quer vir e o que você quer estudar. Isso vai naturalmente afunilar muito a sua pesquisa, né? Então, é muito importante que você tenha clareza da sua trajetória quando você está fazendo a sua aplicação. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you, Marlon. So we're rapidly approaching the end of the session, but I do want to put one or two more questions to you, even if it means we run slightly over into the break, because I think it's so useful to hear from you. So the next question we got a lot was how, and I think it's a question on the mind of lots of students who come from Brazil. How did you find learning English? And do you have any advice on practicing, getting better at English to help then come and study in the UK?
Tá. Então, a pergunta é a respeito da língua, tá? Então, assim, o inglês, gente, vai ser desafiador, principalmente nas primeiras semanas, porque o seu cérebro tem que se acostumar com o ambiente. Então, assim, uma das coisas que eu senti muito, né, era a questão de ficar muito cansada, porque a gente pensa em português, mas tá tudo em inglês. Então, a gente tem uma fase de adaptação que a gente precisa respeitar o nosso tempo. Vai ficar melhor com o tempo, assim, com certeza, vai ficar bem melhor. Então, assim, todo mundo passa por isso. Então, não se preocupem, não achem que, tipo, a situação é diferente com vocês, porque não é diferente com vocês. Mas a adaptação acontece sim, a gente fica mais cansado, tem muita coisa para processar. Mas, assim, uma coisa que me ajudou bastante aqui, e que até hoje eu faço, é assistir filme e série com legenda em inglês, porque aí você consegue associar a palavra, você interpretar. Gente, desculpa, é que alguém estava com o áudio ligado. Mas, enfim, eu acho muito importante essa prática, porque você coloca o inglês na sua rotina e você associa a escuta com a palavra, né? E aumenta o vocabulário. Então, isso era uma coisa que eu fazia muito. Outra coisa que me ajudou demais foi escutar o podcast da BBC News, no Spotify, porque o Spotify, perdão, o canal da BBC, quando você escuta as notícias, vai te apresentar diversos accents, sotaques diferentes. Então, você vai acostumar a sua escuta a diferentes sotaques. Isso é muito importante para quem quer vir para a Inglaterra, porque a sociedade é extremamente diversa e vocês não vão estar apenas em contato com o sotaque britânico, e isso, de uma certa forma, faz parte da sua vivência aqui. Conversar com pessoas que têm inglês como segunda língua. Então, o podcast da BBC News foi perfeito, porque eles colocam pessoas de diferentes locais para falar em inglês, então você cria essa diversidade, né, de compreensão. And Nathan,
Yeah.
third question?
Thank you, Molly. Yeah, so one last question to end us off, and it's a big question, so kind of up to you how you want to take this. But maybe in the last sort of 2 minutes we have, for anyone on the call who looks at you and thinks, amazing, I want to be Maulu in a year's time in London or Manchester or Cambridge or St Andrews, what advice would you give to people to make that dream a reality?
Nossa, essa pergunta Sorry, Nathan, this question is just so deep. I philosophical a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna... So... Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah. So if you have to share some wisdom with everyone on the call today about how they can also come to study in the UK, maybe just one or two tips that you would give them, what would they be?
Eu acho que, assim, uma coisa muito fundamental em vir para cá é você aprender a cuidar de você, né? Porque você vai estar aqui cuidando da sua vida, sozinho. Então, você cresce muito nesse aspecto, né? Então, assim, eu acho que vir para o UK, a escolha de vir para o UK é se aventurar e arriscar. Porque a cidade é grande, a adaptação pode ser desafiadora, principalmente para pessoas que vêm de cidade pequena, né, estranha. Então, assim, estar aberto, né, a vivência de uma cidade grande, né, e também ter a maturidade de viver sozinho aqui, que pode ser desafiador se você está vindo, por exemplo, para fazer uma graduação, né, e você mora com seus pais, pode ser desafiador. Então, assim, acho que alinhando expectativas, né? E também ser gentil com você mesmo, porque é uma grande mudança, é um movimento muito corajoso vir para cá estudar. Então, assim, eu acho que todo mundo que vem para cá estudar em uma língua que não é a nossa tá fazendo um movimento muito corajoso. Então, só de vocês estarem aqui querendo saber como faz isso, você já não tem noção, tipo, da coragem que vocês têm. Assim, eu acho que isso é uma coisa muito importante, porque eu não tinha noção do que eu estava fazendo. Eu tinha um sonho de vir para cá e tal. Quando eu vivi, eu vi o tamanho que era isso, assim. Então, eu queria parabenizar vocês, porque é um movimento muito grande, né? Vir para cá e se colocar nessa situação de aprender uma nova língua, e não só aprender uma nova língua, mas ter um diploma numa língua diferente. Então, assim, sejam gentis com vocês mesmos, respeitem os processos de vocês, e paciência, porque a adaptação acontece, e, enfim, eu acho que é isso. Eu acho que é isso. I'm done, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you've shared your wisdom, and now everyone is inspired and ready to make it a reality. So, Malu, thank you so much for being on the call. Apologies, we have run slightly over into our break, so we will wrap up the session now. But it's absolutely fantastic to have you here. And I think you might have mentioned, but I will just repeat that you've been doing some fantastic work actually with video content and social media posts at LSE. So if anyone is on the call and wants to hear more from Maulu, have a look on the LSE social media, and she is everywhere. Go ahead.
Ok, sorry, Nathan. Então, isso é uma coisa muito importante que eu queria deixar claro aqui para vocês também, que é uma dica muito legal, que eu acho que é muito importante. Quando vocês vêm para cá, eu tô gerando conteúdo, tá? Para a LSE. Eu sou geradora de conteúdo para eles, eu sou criadora, influenciadora da universidade. E essa oportunidade que a LSE me deu é muito valiosa, porque eu consegui conhecer pessoas aqui. Então, se eu pudesse dar uma dica para vocês valiosíssima antes de vir para cá, duas na realidade. Primeira delas aceitem qualquer oportunidade de trabalho na universidade, né? Apliquem, façam coisas para fora do degree de vocês, façam atividades extracurriculares e criem um networking com pessoas de fora, porque isso vai ajudar muito se você quer trabalhar aqui, né, e ficar aqui. E outra coisa, conheçam a universidade, né, e conheçam o perfil de aluno da universidade que vocês querem aplicar. Isso é muito importante. Não adianta aplicar para a universidade no UK se você não sabe nada da universidade que você quer ir, se você não é um fit cultural com eles. Então, aproveitem muito essa informação que eles estão dando aqui sobre as universidades, porque isso é muito, muito importante para vocês refletirem se aquela instituição faz sentido na carreira de vocês. That's
Oh,
it.
no, perfect. It's a great note to end on. We are going to have to end there because our next session is due to start in about 3 minutes' time, so a slightly shorter break than we anticipated. But again, just to mention, if you are joining us on YouTube right now, the remainder of our sessions are going to just be hosted through Zoom for the rest of the day. So please do scan the code on screen, type in the web link on screen, and you'll get all the access details for the remainder of today's sessions. So with that, I want to say thank you, first of all, so much for coming to this. This is just the first of 4 presentations we're going to be hosting today. So I believe in a second we'll start a short break of just 3 minutes, and then please